Hello, everyone. Agatha, you're muted.
Yes, we have people that have joined us. Hello, everyone. You're welcome to today's mentorship session. Please drop your name and where you're joining in from. As we wait for more people to join in, please, the people that have joined us, please let us know your name and where you're joining in from. Those live on Facebook, on LinkedIn and YouTube, you're welcome. My name is Agatha, your host this evening, and our convener and co-host is also here with us. You're welcome. We shall just give it a bit, like 5 minutes, to have more people on the live, right?
Yeah. Yes, okay.
Yes. Okay. Just drop your name and where you're joining in from. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So to those that are new, my name is Ejiro Matilda Ikoko, and I'm a Commonwealth Scholar, and I'm doing my PhD in Women on Transport in the University of Leeds. So thank you, Agatha, our main host. So I'm a supporting host. So, yeah.
Good evening, Anita. Thank you for joining us from Lagos. We are very, very happy to host you this evening. Hi, Random Speech. How are you? Thanks for joining in too.
Hi, Samuel from Mozambique. Hello to you too. And yeah. So just to add up, today we're having 2 sections. The normal Q&A sections. If you have, you can just drop your questions, and also we're having like a mock interview for the chef name. So I just want to just add that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone that's joined in. Please feel free to ask questions. Meantime, we are going to take time to answer all questions that you may have in respect to the Chevening interview. We apologize for the echo that's in the background, but we understand that next week or this week, the interviews are going to begin, and we hope that people joining us are people that are going to be taking part in the interviews this week and the coming weeks. Please let us know any questions you have in respect to the interview. Please, we are here to answer some of those questions.
So Agatha, while we wait for questions, I think because you and I think Kangwa wants to maybe introduce himself quickly before I say what I want to say. I think you're muted too. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm joining in late. Sorry. Some last minute plans. Yeah. But
Yeah.
we'll have a chat and we'll see how the discussion goes. So I'm Kangwa Nkonde. I'm from Zambia. I'm a current Commonwealth PhD scholar, and I would say I'm a Chevening scholar. Thank you.
Okay, I was about to say something to you and Agatha because you're both chef nuts. Okay, so me, I'm not. I'm a Commonwealth scholar. I'm a Commonwealth scholar. I know. So I just want to ask why we are waiting for questions and also waiting for the other panelists to join. What has been your most so apart from getting the chefing scholarship, which is a good thing, what have been your most rewarding experience and your most challenging experience in the entire chevening application process? So from the application to the interview, just pick just what the good and the most challenging, and why.
I guess ladies first.
This is the host. So.
I'm the host, but I can answer that question. I think that the waiting period, between when you apply and then you selected for the interview, and then the waiting period after the interview before you are actually selected, conditionally selected. That time is so torturous. You're always, adding your odds and wondering whether you will actually be chosen for the interview first, and then now you hit the milestone, you're chosen. And then, of course, preparing for the interview. I think now it's been better as the years go by. Like, there are people that prepare you for the interview. There are mock interviews before the actual interview. So by the time you reach the interview, you've like rehearsed your interview, really. Yes, but then the period after the interview, waiting for that conditional selected email, I just remember that time was like the worst. You don't know whether to make plans or not to make plans. You don't know whether to in transition at work or you're not. So it's a bit difficult, that period. Yeah, but like I said, that there's more privilege now that people are prepared for the interview, and I hope that applicants can take advantage of such an opportunity. Over to you, Kangwa.
Yeah, I think the interview was I think going towards the interview was a bit scary. I didn't know. I think that time, like you've mentioned, there wasn't so much talk about the whole process, even traveling itself. I think I just bumped into the advert somewhere online and, and applied. Yeah. So it was anticipating how are the interviews going to be? How do they run their interviews? Is it the usual interviews we've had? Usually we have back home in Zambia sometimes where you're being it's more like you're being tortured instead of interviewed, you know. Yeah. So kind of took a lot of time to prepare, to just make sure that I had myself at least in line and I wasn't trying to remove the anxiety. Yeah, and it's always I guess that's the way interviews are. But the good thing I know right now is that I think there's a lot of help for people who want to apply and who have been shortlisted as well. So there's a lot of engagements all around. I think people are around, are giving tips, they're doing mock interviews. So really get, if you have a chance, get hold of such events. They really are helpful, and the number of people have been helped that way. Yeah. So I think even the waiting, of course, afterwards, I was a little bit busy after. So I wasn't. I think I wasn't so much worried about the outcome, and I think I had. I was waiting for. I had what did I have? I'd applied also through Commonwealth at the same time. So I think the Commonwealth results came earlier. I think I was put on reserve. But of course, it kind of gave me a little bit of that hope that I think my application wasn't so bad. Yeah. So when chevening came through, it kind of yeah. So it's there's always those aspects. Yeah. Mhm. Thanks.
Okay, that's good. Sorry, I'm not the one hosting. I'm not organized hosting.
Thank you, Kangwa. Our other panelists have joined in. Dr. Israel, you're welcome. Barrister Florence, you're all welcome to today's session. We're very glad to have you. Yeah, maybe you could say hello to the people joining us. on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Starting with Dr. Israel.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Apologies for coming in late. My name is Israel Adekule Balogun. I'm Chevney Scholar 2014-2015. Chevney, 2018-2019 Roger Casement Fellow, and currently 2022-23 Commonwealth PhD Scholar at UCL. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Israel. Before we got Florence, we were actually answering a question. What do you think is the most difficult stage in the chevening application process? Between when you apply and when you're selected, which stage do you think is really stressful on the applicant?
That's a big question. Like for me, I think I made mention of it yesterday. I applied twice. One, I applied in ignorance. I was in Jerusalem on a pilgrimage, and I didn't think twice. I thought, I just submitted the last day. Even I remember I was trying to get network. I was in Nazareth at that particular time, trying to look for network because I going around, and I felt, oh, it's something very easy. But when I got the love letter, I knew that I need to sit up the next time. So writing the next one was a little bit okay for me because then I know how to write grants, and if you know how to write proposal and you have won funding before, writing essays will be a little bit cheaper. So I took my time out and I wrote a very good essay. I mean, I have a good story too, as a person with disability and also a medical doctor. So for me, when I was called for the interview, I knew I would get the scholarship. Because I know one thing. There are certain things I know. Don't just come in for interview. I mean, to take time. I mean, by the grace of God, it take time for me not to convince you.
Wow.
And I remember during my court, we are 12 in my country that got the scholarship, and I had the highest score.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, even when we came back, not that I performed very well at school, because the school I went to London School of Agri and Tropical Medicine. They humbled me academically, because the school is a little bit tough. For those who went to London School, they'll tell you that if you are a local champion in your school, when you come back to London School, sometimes you will get some knuckle as doctors. So, but overall, I would say the toughest part for me was waiting. Yeah, because there was anxiety, and that particular year, I think I got first scholarship that year. I got Commonwealth, I got Australia, and Humphrey. So I was just finishing my Australia Africa Award interview when they notified me that I've gotten Chevney. Of course, I don't want to say more than that.
Wow, Dr. Israel, your experience is really the exception, not the general rule, really. Because, but I agree with you on the waiting. The waiting was equally a very lengthy period for me as well. Like the days were not moving. I kept on saying, my goodness, when will that email, like you keep checking your email and then the email starts trickling in like country by country, and you're waiting for your country to to receive that email. And the process is really not an easy one, but worth taking. Barrister Florence, you're welcome. Please, your opening remarks, and also tell us which stage of the of the application process is a bit, like to say, the difficult stage in the process, the chevening scholarship process.
Okay, hi and good day, everyone. My name is Florence Marcus. I'm a lawyer from Nigeria and a 2022-2023 Chevening Scholar. For me, I think the interview stage was what was tough for me, because the time for the preparations, I was a bit anxious of how everything was going to come out. I actually applied 3 times. The very first time I was invited for the interview, but was not selected. The second time I was not even invited for the interview. It was the third time I got selected. So all those periods. My first interview was it was just few days to the interview when lockdown was imposed here in Nigeria. So during the period of lockdown, I took my time preparing, and I think it took a toll on me. So that was the most difficult moment for me. Even though the waiting period was too a bit difficult, the days, just like you have all mentioned. Well, thank God it is now history. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for those opening remarks. Like we said earlier, today is the question and answer session. We shall have maybe one mock interview, but there's a question from Anita Sioma, and maybe Kangwa, you can take it, being on a PhD scholarship. You could take that question, which
yeah, thank you. So I think Anita is asking if well, she's interested in a PhD scholarship, but she's not sure how to go about it. I think the application process is a little bit different. I think I'm not sure where you're applying to, and I think the requirements are maybe more stringent than an MSc application. You may need to add what's this? You need a little support from your possible supervisor, and you also need to have you have a proposal already. You need to attach your proposal as well. I think it needs to be part of the application. There's a part where you have to put your proposal. So there's quite a lot when it comes to a PhD application, especially under Commonwealth. It requires quite a number of things, and it also requires quite a number of people to to give you all the other necessary documentation they require. So you need to have had at least 3, not necessarily possible supervisors who are willing also to provide you with letters of support that they will actually supervise your work. So that's but in a nutshell, I think the application process starts in should be August. I'm not sure, I can't remember. It will open in August and
September.
September. Oh, yeah, September. So hopefully Matilda will host another event like this to help people who want to apply. So if you can, you may need to just keep on checking her profile. She usually posts these things. So that's what I think is may help you. So go through the CSC website. You have quite a number of information. You can see the application forms as well. Usually they have previous years application forms. Start getting in touch with possible supervisors beforehand. Yeah, so it's quite a lot of work which requires you to start running as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Kangwa, for that. And I think Dr. Israel, you can chip in on that question as well, being that you're from 2 different specialties. You could let us know your expertise and experience in that area.
Okay, thank you so much. I quite agree with the first speaker. Just to say, for Commonwealth also, they have different routes. Okay, there's the NGO route, there is a Disabled People's Forum route, there is the educational route. And of course, there is the scholarship board route for each country, depending on the countries where you have to go through. Like my senior colleague have rightly stated, you need to look for a supervisor earlier. That's the number one thing. Somebody that will supervise you, that will guide you. Oftentimes, you reach out to them earlier, and if they have space, so they'll be able to like say, okay, come up with your proposal. They will help you review your proposal before you now apply. The timeline, like you mentioned, actually starts in September, and the window is very short. And it's just unfortunate that with the window is very short, like Shivni, where you have like 2 months to apply. I think Commonwealth now is now, I mean, the last year's application, I think was 6 weeks or so. Yeah, less than that. So you need to have prepared ahead of time before then. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Israel. Barrister Florence, you're fresh from the Chevening, scholarship, fresh and more present and maybe more relevant, because I understand the process has changed over time. In our time, you were required, for example, to have the English exam results, before July, and now that is no longer a requirement. We have people who are preparing for the interview this month. Could you kindly, tell us what they need to do to be ready for this interview?
Okay, yes. The English, Chivney now waives the English interview, but it depends on the university that one is applying to. If your university requires the English test, you have to, if it is a condition for the admission, you have to take the English test before the results for the interview will be out, so that you will not be busy writing tests at that moment. Then the references, I don't know whether the applicants have submitted their reference letters by now, but if they have not, there is always a deadline to that, and they must ensure that they secure admission at least before the results are out in June or July. Ours came out in July. So I think that is very, very necessary, because some universities towards the end, it may be very difficult to get the admissions for them. So it's better they start the application now and meet other conditions, that the university requires. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Florence. What in respect to the interview, really, what preparation should people who've been shortlisted undertake to be ready for the interview? Let's zero it down to the interview. This can be answered by anybody. Okay. Yes, Florence?
So, with respect to the interview, I would advise that they try as much as possible to have at least one mock interview with either Chevening alumni or even their peers. That will help them to boost their confidence and to prepare them better for the interview. I know that there are a lot of groups on various social media platforms for people who are preparing. It's good to get connected with other people, with other candidates now, to get all the necessary information and also to learn. And I know that for me, the mock interviews really assisted me, in the final run. So it's good to have at least a mock interview before then. Go through their essays. Don't just neglect your essays. Go through your essays. Ensure that you can your examples, the examples you've cited well. And if there are other examples, for instance, things that you did after you submit your application, you can still present them during your application. No one will stop you, but just make sure that you lay proper foundation for those other examples. Thank you.
Thank you, Florence. Maybe we can go to Kangwa. Do you want to add something to that? And maybe there's a question that applicants always ask. is it possible to change your university choices during the interview? For example, I have, for example, if a candidate was applying last year and they put maybe a London School of Tropical Medicine and the other 2 universities, but they have not yet secured admission to any of those.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I usually get that question as well. It is very possible to change. And think you have, I think the last chance for you to change, to make a decision on your choices, I think is during the interviews. So you can make changes. If you put in, say, UCL, you put in maybe another school somewhere, then they haven't yet given you offers, but you have other schools who have already given you offers, which you didn't include in the beginning. You can change. Yeah, you can bring in those and you can change. So I think during the interviews, that's what you will actually be asked at. Is that, do you want to make any changes on your initial choices? Yeah, so you can make changes. I think for anything else, I think what the last is it Flora said is it's mostly you just need to reduce the anxiety and do practice as much as possible. Have one-on-one with somebody to run you through the interviews. Even if you're doing it alone, it's not a problem as well. But it's always helpful, especially if you can find people who have been through these processes to give you a guide.
Okay, thank you for that. Please, we are still looking for a volunteer for the mock interview, and I think we've gotten one.
Okay. Just to add also, to add to what you have said, sometimes the chef can change your school by themselves. They can change it. Really? Yes, they do. I mean, I've had mentees that they change their school for them. Yeah, based on priority. I think the lady wanted to go to LSHTM, and they now took her to LSTM, Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. Yeah.
Maybe can you please clarify, Dr. Israel, was that one of the 3 schools or it's a school outside the 3?
Well, it was one of the 3 schools that the person chose. But like during the interview, I mean, while interviewing, they will ask you if you still want to retain the order of your choices. I have also sat as a panel in my country for like 4 years. So they will ask you if you are comfortable with your current choices. But at the same time, they have that leeway to be able to change it behind you. It might be, and they may not tell you why. Maybe the other school is fully saturated and you might not be aware. So that might be the reason. Yeah, maybe they've occupied the space. Thank you.
Maybe just to add on as well, there are times when, especially towards the final days, that's where usually these things occur. When they're having these discussions with the schools, then the school maybe there are times some schools become unreasonable on certain issues. So the chevening can do, in such situation, they can decide to move somewhere else. But of course, those are not aspect. We may not be privy really to what makes them make these changes, but these do happen. I have heard of such situation happening. I think even at even for PhD Commonwealth, I've heard of sometimes they're changing schools for you, sending you somewhere else.
All right, thank you, our speakers, for that elaborate answer. As we finalize on our mock interview, people, I just wanted to also highlight a question that always comes up. And I think Elvis has asked a question there. Can chevening change a course based on country priority area? For example, from media studies to sustainability, or they stick to your choices you made? And I think that has been answered in what Dr. Israel said. Dr. Israel, do you want to clarify on that particular question, as well as Florence?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Ma, for this question. Like, they hardly change your course, but they can change your school. Like, the lady in question wanted sexual reproductive health in LSHM, MSc sexual reproductive health, and they now took her to Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. They are similar school, almost at par. Yeah, that was what they did. So oftentimes they hardly change your course. I mean, that's the beauty about Shivni. I give kudos to them for that. But in rare exception, those were just few exceptions where they would have to change your university, but not your course, primarily, except if there is no space. Because some of those schools too, they may have phased out a program which you were not aware of. Maybe they didn't get enough enrollment for that particular session. You know, there's a minimum that the school will have to have for them to continue that course for that particular year. So a lot of things do happen behind the scene, but they will let you know whatever is happening. So they will contact you and give you reasons. Yeah.
Okay, I think that question has been answered. Florence, do you want to add something on that question? Is it possible to change a course from one that you put in your application to a totally different one? Florence, are you still there? I think Florence, you picked up that question later. Maybe the other question that I have had come in several times is in respect to. It's not a question, but I just wanted to advise people who have been shortlisted know where the interview is taking place. You know, don't wait for the last minute, because sometimes you don't know where the venue is. So please find out the venue beforehand. Don't wait for that morning and you're trying to, find the place where the interview is. Get familiar with the place, know the actual location, plan on how you're going to go there, because, it could rain that morning, something can happen, and, have a plan on how you're getting to the venue. Please do not be late for the interview. And maybe from a person who's been on the panel for people interviewing, we are privileged to have Dr. Israel. Could you please tell us what you guys look out for? What are you looking out for in the interview? We've already given you the essays. You have short essays. What are you looking out for?
Well, thank you so much for this. I I think I've participated in about 5 sessions, yearly. And the beauty about it is this: Chevney is very generous, and the British High Commission staff or embassy staff, as the case might be, they're also very generous, but they want value for money. Okay. Nobody will want to just give you scholarship just because you're a person with disability, or because you're a lady, you are beautiful, you are handsome, you've written something good. It goes beyond that. You need to convince us that we need to enlist you. And I'll say this: you need to understand the scoring system also. The scoring system has scored over 4. Okay, from 0, unsatisfactory, to good, very good, and outstanding. And there are certain things we look for in each of the questions. Like, for instance, leadership and influence. At least they will ask. They've listed some of the criteria. I won't want to list it here. I don't want to say it here. Okay, but you need to show that you have demonstrated leadership, as evidenced by certain goals that you're able to achieve. For you to have an outstanding result, there is a criteria. You must have received maybe commendation in a place of work. You have done something novel that nobody has ever done, or something that brought about a change in policy. across the country or within the region. I'm giving an example for like leadership, for instance. And at least you should have two, they call it, it must be very convincing. You are not just listening. You must talk about the process of how you're able to like bring that change or demonstrated that leadership or the influence you have, how you're able to carry it out in your specific area of influence. And of course, the panel members oftentimes are three. So, of course, sometimes we're four. I've been in a panel where we're four, though the other person was just listening to us as an external observer to see how objective we are. At the end of the day, we'll all be grading you separately. And when you are done, we will now collate our grading to harmonize them. So to see why this candidate deserve a 4 or a 3 or a 2 or a 1. And sometimes we argue among ourselves. And we have a chair. The chair will now, not that he has the finance, but he's the one that will, he has the results sheet. He will write the results that was agreed. So the aggregate score from every panel member. So basically, that's how it goes.
Okay. Thank you for that. I hope we've gotten some tips on what the panel is looking for. And maybe the panel the same for all applicants, or keeps changing depending on the specialty?
Oh, in time past, it used to be like, I remember when I first started attending panel, I think 2016 or so. I mean, you can interview different applicant, different specialty. But recently, they've made it a specialist team. Like, for instance, I mean, I'm aware of my country, for instance. They bring in, like, for the health stream, they have different streams, okay? They look at the essays and they now allocate candidates based on their area of expertise and experience. Oftentimes, you might not get the right person. Like for a doctor, you may have somebody, a nurse or a pharmacist, somebody that understands the profession will be on that panel. So there's no way you can tell them lies. Okay, you puncture your lies. you know. So that's the beauty about it. So now they made it more specialized. So they tailor it to the individual essay. So that's how they've done it. At least you have a professional that knows your country, that knows your subject very, very well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Israel. I just want to make one announcement. Please kindly join using the links provided on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. We have a volunteer, and I think we're going to go into our mock interview. We are privileged, like I said, to have someone who sits on the interview panel, and we have several scholars, and we have the recent one, Barrister Florence, who brings in an age on what they're looking for at the moment. So Samuel, you're welcome. And so I will let our panelists guide him in the mock interview. Over to you, Kangwa and Florence and Dr. Israel. So Samuel is already on stage, so I think we should go straight into that. Kangwa, over to you.
Hi, good evening. Before we start, let me just make sure if you can hear me in a perfect conditions.
Samuel,
I think we can hear you.
Is that Samuel?
Yes, Samuel.
Okay, you don't want to turn on your camera. It's fine if you don't want to. That's okay.
Thank you. So I think I'm ready. I don't know.
Analyst. Maybe, Sally, maybe you can just quickly introduce yourself. Oh, okay, I think that would be part of the question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Analyst.
it's part of the whole process.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be a timekeeper. I'll be a timekeeper again, so don't worry.
Okay.
So,
How many minutes today? How many minutes?
Let's
well,
let's
roughly
say 30.
45 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes.
What? Excuse you? Are you serious? Okay. So per question, how many minutes per question?
It's
Okay, Florence, it's a range. You know,
It's
some
right.
candidates, some candidates, they abort their interview very quickly. Okay, and some we can give them even 1 hour. Okay, when the story is very interesting and you are like captivated, you're even oblivious of time. You know, you are carried away. And
Okay.
some you keep on interrupting, asking questions, and as the case may it differs, but it's between 45 to 1 hour. I think so. Yeah.
You guys have got a lot of time in Nigeria, right?
How many minutes was it? Maybe how
I
many
think
minutes was yours?
I think for us in Zambia, usually it ranges between 20 to maybe maximum 45 minutes, but I don't think it has ever reached 45 minutes. The ones I've been privileged to be part of the panels haven't run that long. Yeah. Yeah. So let's start. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Engineer Karama. So nice of you to join us today. Um, make yourself comfortable. So my name is Kangwa. I have Doc on this side, and I have Flora on the other panel. So these we're going to be interviewing you. We are former we're traveling scholars. Yeah, so we'll be interviewing you and getting you through this process. Please make yourself comfortable. So introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and just give us something about you that we can't see in the essays.
Oh, thank you. First and foremost, I want to express my sincere gratitude for this interview opportunity. This award is prestigious and highly competitive. So I acknowledge the significant effort you took to reach this stage, and I'm truly proud to be here. I'll say once again, because last year I also attended this interview. So my name is Samuel. I hold a degree in biomedicine from the Ndwadumdan University, and I've gained extensive experience in the field of biomedical science research during my time at the National Institute of Health, where I have been working since 2018, initially as a trainee in microbiology, medical microbiology laboratory. So in December 2021, I have employed as a full-time biomedical science assistant research at Polana Keniso Health Research Training Center, which is a branch of the National Institute of Health in Mozambique, in Maputo City, where since then I oversee two projects, one focusing on COVID-19 immunization and the other addressing drug resistance in the healthcare settings. And on the another hand, affiliated with the National Institute of Health, I hold a junior investigator position in the Smart for TB cohort program, founded by the USAID, and I'm now interning at Johns Hopkins University, and my research focuses on alternative therapy mechanisms for drug-resistant tuberculosis, addressing a significant global healthcare concern, particularly in Mozambique, as a nosocomial infections. So in my part-time, I excel under many very important duties that include a lecture at the Gender Technical School, and over the phone medical interpreter for Spanish/English at the Bush Lingual. And also I'm a podcast maker, the founder of the Random Speech podcast, where I weekly provide tips on how to enhance English speaking as a Portuguese speaker. And also I'm a blog writer, the founder of the Future of Our Association website platform. And I am also an activist. So generally, this is what am I. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Doc, do you have any questions for? We can start, Doc.
Okay. Thank you so much. Your profile looks amazing, and
Thank
you
you
look
very
as
much.
if you are one of the persons that we are looking for as shedding scholar. So relax. Okay. Um, Tell us how you have used your leadership or influence to bring about a desired change in your country or community or your nation.
Sorry, may you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. I say, can you tell us how you have been able to use your leadership or influence to bring about a desired change in your community, nation, or society?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. As I have mentioned it in my introduction, as that I do oversee two studies, related with COVID immunizations and antibiotic resistance. I have mentioned, I have successfully led dynamic team of 15 researchers, encompassing individual from diverse disciplines such as physicians, nurses, laboratory technicians, statisticians, and psychologists. And in this role, I have played a pivotal part in fostering seamlessly collaboration among team members and stakeholders such as healthcare practitioners and policymakers. So clearly, communication and shared goal were paramount. Ensuring that everyone involved was aligned in purpose and to enhance participant inclusion and adherence. I spread ahead the development of innovative mechanisms, including personalized initiative like surprise birthday message, offering free medical appointments and exams for participant families, and organizing workshop for preliminary results dissemination. So the outcome were transformative. With a substantial increase in particularly participant adherence and improved vaccination strategies, leading to 10% boost in coverage and pioneering approaches to address antibiotic resistant infections, resulting in, I'll say, uh, more than 25 reduction in mortality and benefiting more than 6,000 participants. So beyond my professional endeavors, I also have founded and lead the association, which I mentioned it in my introduction to the Future for Era, since 2013, dedicated to preparing and privileged youth for university admission exams in the health science field. And this initiative not only inspired and guided the student locally, specifically in the province that I was born, which is Manica province, but also challenging education exclusivity because um, you know um, at the time education in Mozambique particularly was seen like uh, thing that only sons or people that has power or money just can do. So I have emerged more than 25 students to pursue higher education in Mozambique. Not only, Mozambican university, but also I have also been able to, um, uh, to guide in abroad universities. So in terms of influence, I think like my language abilities have been instrumental immersing myself in foreign language, learning through participation in the polyglot online community like uh, WhatsApp and Telegram. So connected with diverse individuals globally and broadening my cultural understanding So the creation of freedom speech podcast, as I said, focus on English language learning tips. Garnered a rapidly following of over 1,000 subscribers and earned recognition as the first position best podcast self improvement in Mozambique. So furthermore, my training as a Spanish interpreter and subsequent role as medical over the phone interpreter for American company enabled me to bridge communication gaps among healthcare professional, ensuring accuracy and cultural sensitive communication with the Spanish-speaking patients. So, in sense, my leadership journey is marked as by the commitment to innovation, inclusivity, uh, the positivity, and influence across various domains, reflecting my dedication to making a meaningful impact, particularly in my homeland, which is Mozambique. So thank you very much. This is my answer for this particular question. Thank you.
You're doing quite a lot of stuff. I was actually about to ask, your English is quite good. Where did you learn it? I think Flora also has some questions for you.
Okay. Yeah, can you explain how you build and maintain relationships in your professional capacity using clear examples?
Yeah, sure. Well, I would like to use always as example, the example that I have used. I mean, I have mentioned it earlier. In my introduction. Um, as a interpreter of language, I think I have built uh, an extensive networking with the worldwide community through the learning language process. I'll say, like, when I started to learning language, which was English for the first time, because I had a like dream to apply for the evening schoolship, and one of the barrier is actually the language. So I have started to look up for the online community that I can learn, because here in my country, unfortunately, I couldn't practice the language with a local person, because we always speaking like local language, which is Portuguese. So I have built in a worldwide network with a worldwide I'll say with a range of personalities through the WhatsApp group and Telegram. I have learned it. I have exchanged, like cultural heritage with people from, for example, Nigeria, Bangladesh, United Kingdom, America, and stuff like that. And not only I have learned English, but also I have started to get interest in other language. And through this networking, I had opportunity to know, for example, the Bushlingual company that I ended up working on it through friends, through this wide community that I've been exchanging, uh, uh, cultures and stuff like that. So I'll say, like, this is one of the example. Great example that I can use in order to show up my capacity of building relationships beyond borders. But also internally, as I also mentioned it, like, I have founded and created the Future of Our Era association, which I founded when I was attending grade 10. I was like 16 years old at the time, and this initiative actually influenced many people. As soon as I got the scholarship at the Dortmund University and started to learn biomedicine, I started to influence other youth from my province, in particularly. As I mentioned it, more than 25 people from my, not only from my province, because of later I create like a website um, where I can share like entrance exams, papers like biology and chemistry, and many things that been releasing on my blogspot, which is by the way www dot research bms blogspot.com. So just sign in, and then do not forget to subscribe. So when I created this platform and the podcast that I mentioned it in order to give tips my fellow citizenship, this is one of the examples that I can use in order to refer automation, my capacity in building relationship and maintaining it as well. So yeah, in generally, uh, this is my answer for this question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Um, any other questions, Flora, Doc? Before I chip in, okay, let me. It's quite interesting, really. You seem to have quite a very diverse, what's this, life. You're into several stuff, but I'm more interested in. I've seen. I think you are in biomedicine. So
Yes.
what is your view on aspects to do with uh, what do you think is how do we reduce the what do you call this? We call it antibiotic resistance, which is on the increase because of the abuses of the drug or overuse of antibiotics, especially in Africa. What do you think is one of the areas? How do we tackle that in Africa or even in Mozambique?
Yeah, quite interesting question, and it is a challenge before I start to respond. Drug resistance is one of the most challenge nowadays, worldwide. I'll say problem, and not only uh, you know developed countries facing this issue, but even country that has more how can I say, like, the economy is quite significant. From, for example, even UK or United States, they are facing also the this biggest issue, which is the drug resistance. But the most interesting thing is that in Africa, particularly in Mozambique, for example, this problem, it's more associated with it's very associated with the what we call the nosocomial infections, or those infections that are acquired in healthcare settings. So these two issues, when gathered, it turn out to a big problem. So the first thing that we need to do in order to respond to this issue is, first is the human resources, people with knowledge and capacity in order to build and any strengthening capacity in terms of healthcare, and the investigation industry itself, in terms of understanding real the issue. Um, we have for the first time to have human resource in order to this is the first step, and second, it's about the awareness. I'll say awareness. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing this
No,
word.
no problem, no problem.
Yeah, awareness. Yeah, we have to spread the awareness through the community, through the I'll say, like, engagement with the community, showing them, sharing with them the knowledge itself, the information, what is the issue behind of the drug abuse uses, because when we use a drug without any reliable prescription, uh, uh, we can also create this problem of drug resistance. So, uh, building awareness in the community, the community itself, it will start uh, to know that we can't we can't use drug without an prescription. If I got a cough, for example, I should have to go to the doctor, and the doctor will prescribe an precise medication or drug for this drug through the exam or the laboratory exam that we'll be doing in order to identify what is the causes of this cough, um, and just only doing that, awarenessing our community and uh, having the health system and capacity boosted, we can fight against this worldwide issue which we are facing nowadays. So this is my point of view. So we can also create collaborations with uh, the the worldwide organization, for example, the USAID, in order to strongly or to get, I mean, together. Uh, 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 I'll say in terms of collaboration, in order to worldwide or to extend the spreading of the informations, and also the to building also the system capacity. I'm talking about the technology facilities in order uh, to um, to diagnoses, understanding it better in terms of molecular level, like genetics and mutation stuff like that. Because most of those resistant drugs are caused because of the mutation that occurs I mean, in the molecular level. So this is my view or my point of view, regarding this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a rider. So what are your career goals post traveling? What are your career goals?
Well, my career goals. Let me just say, like, first and foremost, it's actually to gain a master degree, through the Chevening scholarship, and after completing my master, I'll I'll return to my homeland, which is Mozambique, and my career goal is to be at the front of the combating nosocomial infections and antimicrobial resistance, aligning with the global strategy outlined by the CDC, which is the Center of Center of Control Diseases and Infections, uh, also the Worldwide Health Organization, and the UK government as well, until 2030. So, in short terms, affiliated with the National Institute of Health, which is my current employee, I plan to establish a collaborative relationship with the strategic partners such as the CDC, as I said, the OZID, and USAID, I mean, and the Worldwide Health Organization, to implement a 5-year surveillance program for nosocomial infections and antimicrobial resistance. So this initiative involves developing and implementing protocol for case screening, diagnosis, and treatment and prevention as well. So to enhance health care practitioner capacity, I intend to introduce concise training courses across major center hospital in the north of my country, which is the north of the country, center, and south of Mozambique as well, where nosocomial infections and the antimicrobial resistance are most prevalent. So the curriculum will align with the latest research and best practices, and will employ pre and post test along with feedback form to evaluate courses. To evaluate course effectiveness. So success in this initiative will position me in prestigious research position at the National Institute of Health, combating or contributing significantly to strengthening the health system in Mozambique, and establishing the National Institute of Health has a prominent research center in Africa focused on nosocomial infections and antimicrobial resistance. So in long term, spanning the next decade. My commitment involve earning PhD in biomedical science from the estimate institution like, for example, University of Oxford or Cambridge. And this academic pursuit aims to deepen my knowledge of infection diseases, particularly nosocomial infections and antimicrobial resistance. And subsequently, I plan to become an investigator and associate professor at the university in Mozambique. And I think in this role, I will mentor junior researchers, supervising research projects for students, and impacting knowledge and hands-on skills in the fields of nosocomial infections and antimicrobial resistance. So additionally, I aspire to establish collaborative research effort with the National Institute of Health, focusing on severe cases of nosocomial infections and the antimicrobial resistance. So, using expertise gained during my PhD, I am to explore alternative drug treatment based on local plants, reducing reliance on external fundings and lowering healthcare expenses in my country and Africa in general. So, my ultimate career goal is to establish in Mozambique healthcare method TV and radio dedicated to disseminate healthcare related information, including nosocomial infection and antimicrobial resistance, mainly on local, national, and international level. So this media platform will serve to raise awareness in all citizens, reaching even the most remote regions. So in summary, my career goals compares a short initiative to combat nosocomial infection and the antimicrobial resistance at the local level, followed by the long term committed to academic and research excellence, and culminating in the establishment of a media platform to widespread health education and awareness to the community. As I mentioned it that one of the that I think the solution in order to solve this problem of health, drug resistance, is to awareness our population. So they have to know uh, the significant or the consequence of drug abuses. So shortly, I say this is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. That's quite a good plan. That's quite a plan. Uh, so, Florence, do we have any questions?
Yes, I have a follow-up question to his question. Sorry, to his career trajectory. When you talk about National Institute of Health, which of the National Institute of Health are you referring to? Is it the one in America or the one in Britain?
Well, in my country, actually, we do have a National Institute of Health, which we call in our national language Instituto Nacional de Saúde, which means National Institute of Health. So I mentioned when I refer National Institute of Health, I'm referring our local National Institute of Health, where I am currently working since 2021 as as I said, has oversee of two projects. One of them related with antibiotic resistance, drug resistance, and the COVID-19 immunization itself. So yeah, that's it. Not I'm not talking about the National Institute of Health in from the United States. No, I'm talking about National Institute of Health here in Mozambique locally.
Thank you so much for that clarification. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, can you tell us why you selected your three chosen universities and the courses, and explain how they relate to your career plan?
Well, actually, I would say like I haven't chosen three universities, different universities. Um, Unfortunately, I was forced to list three different university because of I couldn't be able to submit my application with only one university. As I said, I'm applying to the Chevening Scholarship for the second time, And my preferred, my exclusivity university, it's actually the University of York. And I've been in contact with this university since 2021, where in 2022, I was uh, I was given the offer of acceptance, but unfortunately, because of I couldn't be able to for some reason I couldn't be able to gain the final award evening scholarship, so I just defer my offer, and I see with the University of York. For many reasons, I have chosen the University of York. The first and foremost, very important, is that I think that the staff and the university itself, it is at least for people who are from Africa, I think they treat them very well. The University of York, it was one or it was the unique university who was willing to pay the English test to me. You know, I did the Duolingo testings of the University of York, and of course, I hit the required score, which is 120. And once the university was which paid to me, they always in touch with me. I do have any particular oversee from the University of York, which is Dr. Jenny Gonzalez, which is the I'll say the coordinator. I'll say the coordinator for the Africans and Latin American students, and they're very gently. And in also the university, it has a course that seamlessly aligned with my plans and future goals. Aligns with my current work experience, my previous work experience, my future goals in combating nosocomial infections and drug resistance. The university, it has the Institute of Biomedicine, which has top-notch research facilities that I think that this will be perfect to me in order to gain knowledge and skills self in order to be ready to fight against the nosocomial infection as my lifetime. I'm committed to fight against this. In other hands, also University of York offer aids for students like accommodation suitable with the budget for the school the students, and also the university. It was one of the university that was gained the awards of the university, which been uh, facing against the how can I say the how they call it there were the increase of I can say the rent payment in UK in general. I think last year, 2023, 2022, and the University of York was the only one which was facilitating to the student in order to uh, to still enjoying the university accommodation itself. So University of York, it's my exclusivity university. I'll just go in university. I do have an offer of acceptance. They give me an offer of acceptance for the third time, I'll say. And, I do have all required documentation. I'm talking about, English, stuff like that. And I mean, last year, actually, I also have already paid like how say the deposit of accommodation, but because of I couldn't for some reason I couldn't be able to gain the final award. Fortunately, they refunded me because I couldn't be able to travel to the UK. So yeah, it's New York. I mean, it's York University. But as I said, I couldn't be able to submit my application without listed three university. I also have listed as a second choice the University of Kent, which also I do have an offer of acceptance to biomedicine, and I do have as one on the list is the University of Kili, which is biomedical science, also microbiology, medical microbiology specifically. And also, of course, I do have an offer of acceptance. So I have 3 offer of acceptance, but I'll go with York, of course, for clear reason for me. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kangwa and team. I think that we should give Samuel some feedback on his responses to the different questions, and maybe I'll start with Florence. The last question is just answered. Do you think he's answered the last question satisfactorily?
I will say no. Sorry if I'm harsh, but I will say no. First of all, the preamble he gave to that answer was very unnecessary. Everybody knows that if you, even from the question when you are writing your essay, Chignin will ask you to select universities and outline the reason why you selected the 3 universities and the courses. So it's not left for you to decide that you are just choosing one. It's just to fulfill all righteousness that you just selected the 3. Then there are some things that should reflect in your presentation or should reflect as reasons for selecting your university and the courses. Yeah, he talked about the city of York. Even the professor he mentioned, I think a professor or thereabout, has nothing to do with his course. It's just his contact person in the university. And he didn't say much about how the course relates to his career plan and the modules, nothing about the modules, nothing about even the ranking of the university. So I feel that a lot of very important things that should be considered in selecting the universities were omitted. So if you are going in for an interview soon, I think you should look into that and avoid the mistake of saying that no, for you is just one university, because it is a requirement for achievement. And also look at those things that I mentioned: the university, the lecturers, the modules, how the module relates to your career plan, how the modules relate to the UK priority areas in your country, how the module relates to other issues, other global issues like the SDGs that you want to contribute to achieving, things like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that honest feedback, Florence. I felt the same as well. In his response, I guess it's unnecessary to say that I did put 3 universities because I had to. It's a bit like rubbing into their faces that, I did it because it's required, but that's not, I think it's a bit even impolite answering a question like that. I think you need to be more, answer the question as asked. So go into why you chose each of those 3 courses, and like she said, and align it with your career goals. How is that course leading you to achieving those goals you've mentioned? Then let's go to Dr. Israel. Samuel, you're going to be given a chance to ask a question. Let's first get the feedback, and then get back to the question. Dr. Israel, over to you.
Thank you so much. When I listened to him, I mean, first I must commend you because he's a Portuguese-speaking person. The way Portuguese language, just like Spanish, the way they tend to play with rhetorics is quite different from English. So I just want to be very, very objective. I have Portuguese friends, okay? We don't use that in English. There's something about English. An Englishman will want to kill you, but he'll still be polite to you. Okay, so you need to learn to be polite. Don't just rub it on them, like they've said. Just to add to you, if I were to score you, I'll score you 2. That's my honest feedback, but I'll tell you what you can do to improve. Like Barrister Florence rightly said, you need to talk about how the course you are doing, the rationale for you choosing the course, how it relates to your current work, and how it's going to benefit the future of that work as a whole. That's one. Number two, you need to look at the collaboration. We talk about, I always tell people about 5 things you talk about in academics. You talk about academics, you talk about the people, the culture, um, environment or tourism, and then finally, maybe collaboration and research. I didn't hear you talking about research collaboration. You will sit on a platter of gold where the UK government will be looking forward to collaborate with you, and you have a lot to gain, knowledge exchange, even from your colleagues that you meet in school. You didn't talk about your classmates too. So what I will expect is this from you next time, and for everybody listening, you need to talk about how academically, how you're going to benefit the course module, your interaction with your lecturers, establishing relationship with your colleagues and your lecturer for the future. Because Chevron is not only about going to school, it's not Commonwealth, okay? It's about future leaders and influencers. They always tell you is what distinguishes Chevron from other scholarships about building leaders, future leaders, and influencers. So you need to bring that out. The other thing you can talk about, of course, the rank of the school will fall under that. I will also suggest that you add the issue of collaboration with your identified professor. Talk about the professor, his paper, his interest. Antimicrobial resistance is something that is a global thing. It's not about Mozambique alone. It's every country, And I mean, you need to like relate that. I'm a doctor by training. I understand what you were saying, but I didn't see that relationship with what the way you presented. You didn't link it up with the environment, with the global thing, because like we talk in public health, whatever affects one country may spread to the other, just like Ebola, just like COVID-19. If you have antimicrobial resistance, if it becomes very great, it will become a major problem for the whole world as a whole. It's not only limited to Mozambique. We want to like see that in your talk and talk about the modules, the specific module that is related to such. Additionally, coming back home, when you come back home, what do you plan to do? You must be able to link it up also that, okay, following my return back home, I'm not talking about you talking about your future career plan. I hope to like acquire the necessary skills to be able to bring a change in my country, leverage on the experiences that I've gained from the UK. So I want you to improve on that, but I give it to you. I respect you for you to be able to even speak English to that. Your English is almost better than mine. If I would say better, don't mind me. Well done.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Israel. Let's go to you, Mr. Kangwa. What's your feedback?
Wow, it's I would start with the positives. Having what's this? Having started in a different language, I would give him I think a lot of kudos. I think maybe one thing we may need to be open to is that different cultures and languages have different ways of communicating. And even when we learn the language, we may not necessarily pick up all the nuances. But I think that's what we need to be open to, that people will present themselves in a different way because they have a different background. And yeah, it's not a standard outlook for me. So I think he expressed himself very well. He's doing quite a lot, and I think I would given a chance, I would say I think on the issue of putting one course, putting one university. I had a similar situation, so I just put one university. Um, I think I did that also when I was doing for Commonwealth as well for the PhD. But I don't think the rules are stuck in concrete. It's good there are general rules, but they're not stuck in concrete. I think what's important is, are you able to sell yourself? Are you able to say why you think this is a sure thing and this is what you want? And if you can convince people, they will give you. And I think he's able to talk. So he's able to put across a case for himself. I don't think that's so much an issue. But of course, I think what the advice people have told you, where you do not put it in people's faces, that no, these are just for formality. No, find a way to, the way Doc said, the English will kill you while they are being polite. So try to use those same techniques. You don't need necessarily to bring it out like, oh, no, these are just by the way thing. But it's not, there's nothing written in concrete. Even the rules we have in the world, they're just made to make people be in line somewhere. So you can break the rules, but know how to handle yourself. Yeah, you can break the rules. You're not meant to be fixed in a box. Somebody just wakes up and says, no. This is what will work for me. And he makes the rules. You can break the rules, but be ready to, when you're pushed back, to say this is not, are you able to defend the reasons why you broke the rules? And can you convince somebody to say, okay, this is you did this, why did you do this? Are you able to stand up and say, no, sell yourself? So you have those skills already from what I'm seeing. What you need to work on, for me, is and I would score, I think I would score you, I think a 3.5. And here's the areas where I would want you to work on from my perspective. I think you need to reduce the amount of information you are packaging, right? So I don't mean that you just answer very short stuff, but try to maximize what you're speaking about for maximum. Put what you think is important to the person, or whatever you talk about should have that impact where somebody is, it's like you're talking to a girl. You like this girl, you want her to like you. You always want, all the words you are speaking, you want them to have an impact, right? So whatever you are speaking in that interview should be going out to make people say, oh, okay, wow. Like every sentence you say should have that impact, so that because what you are doing, you are selling. So try to remove unnecessary stuff, right? You have quite a lot happening, really. You have quite a lot happening. So try to package your things in a very impactful manner, so that you can have that consistency. Remember that people's attention span reduces, right? So if you go on speaking for 3, 4, 5 minutes, remember that people now start thinking about other things. They start trying to get the phone, so you don't want to do that. Have a moment where you should be reading people's moods. The moment you see you are losing people's attention, you quickly cut short and you hold back. So somebody asks you a question. So in short, you kind of invite a conversation. So it should always be a conversation, but a conversation on your terms. So that's what I would advise. Then questions on the, what's this? Is it the reason for the UK? I think the guys have elaborated the aspect of the courses. I would advise that try to avoid talking about the university ranking. It can be a pitfall, because most universities are relatively good in the UK. Yes, the ranking is good, but many people go for the ranking. Find something unique aside from the ranks. that makes you, and I think with the way you talked about the University of York, what's happening and the like and all that, and the rapport you've created is actually very good. But try to add as well in the program itself, what is interesting, what's the most interesting thing that makes you York better in that program, you know. And I think they elaborated also, they emphasized the need for you to look at aspects of collaborations afterwards. You know, they're very interesting professors in most of these universities across the UK. So find somebody there. You can say, oh, he's doing this, and I would like to, ride on this, use this period to create a relationship with him, so that I can collaborate afterwards. Things like that. But I would always advise that for my end, I think try to avoid looking at ranks, university ranks. Then the other thing, I don't know, maybe it's, I was taught that try to avoid talking about moving or going into academia after your your traveling, right? Experience. You know, many would say, "Oh, I'm doing a master's because I want to go into academia." That's okay. It's in reality that's what usually happens. You know, you progress in usually you end up getting into academia or doing research. They know that, but what they are looking for is what can you do where you are? How do you rise in that institution you are? You know, either vertically or horizontally, right? So how does this masters you're going to do facilitate these options for you, right? How do you become an influencer where you are? Not necessarily. So if you start hinting on aspects of I'm going to do I'm going to go into academia, you are hinting on me who's listening to you. I'll be thinking like, so he's planning to do a runner, right? He's changing career, but we are paying for him to be an influencer where he is. You see, so have that aspect. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kangwa, and thank you everybody for that feedback. In any interview, the applicant or the person being interviewed will be given an opportunity to ask a question. Usually, I think it's the last part of the interview. They will ask you if you would like to ask a question, and then you use that opportunity to ask whatever you have. So, Samuel.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, I have a question.
You have a question.
Because the feedback we gave him earlier was in relation to one question. Okay.
Oh yes.
Yes, it was in relation to academics.
No.
Okay.
The feedback should be for
feedback about leadership. We've not given him feedback about his network, and we've not given him feedback, about his future career goal. His future career goal, I was impressed with it. You know, he covered it. The only part he will have to rejig is collaboration. The linkage, they always want the linkage between the UK university, what the British government is doing in your country, either the embassy, the High Commission, their priority versus what you will do. Then, of course, for the leadership, his leadership was okay. It's just for him to also talk about what he's going to bring to the Chevening network, both in his country and the global network as a whole, because what he has was very good. You know, and just to I'm not disagreeing with my fellow person, you know, different career pathway differs. You know, for people that, I've sat in about 5, I've mentored over 40 Cheveners in my country and across the globe that succeeded in getting perfect score. You know, perfect score is 16. The way you present yourself, you can go into academia, you can go into politics, you can even what's it called? Do something unique. It's about your presentation, the way you package it, the way you narrate, the narration, and how convincing. We always talk about SMART. This thing must be specific, measurable, attainable. I can't remember. I always forget the other. I don't know why, but I know the last one is time bound. You know, it must be smart. Your objectives must be smart, just like we say in Nigeria. So thank you so much.
Florence, would you want to comment on the general, on all his responses, not just the last one?
I think you're muted. We can hear you, Florence. Or is it just me?
I can't hear her too.
Oh, okay, great. Florence, we can't hear you at all.
Florence, on mute.
I don't think she's muted.
She's unmuted. She's unmuted, but she has no volume.
Can you join in and try to log in and log out?
Go out and come in.
Yeah, let somebody else do.
Yeah, go
We
out.
can
Okay,
lip-
so
we can lip read.
in the meantime, Sam, can you ask your question?
Yes. Well, first of all, let me say thank you very much for your for the how can I say for the feedback. You know, it was very interesting. You know, I'll try to practice more. You know, to learn more from my mistakes that I committed during my mock interview. You know, of course I recognize that. You know, I have also omitted some very important, you know, part of my response. You know, for example, in the question related with the university, of course. So yeah, I'll try my best. I still have time. You know, my interview will be in March 25. So I think I have got like 2 or 3 weeks. You know, so I'll try my best. Of course, I'm just preparing on my own. You know, trying my best. Of course, I do have like a tight schedule. So, but you know, I'm doing my best. So my question is actually related with um, the question related with the 3 universities. You know, as I have mentioned it, like I have selected, I have chosen only one university, which is a University of York. And well, on my essays, I actually wrote only about York. So how I will handle, you know, this question? Of course, they will give me this question on the interview. So how do I have to handle this question? You know, in order to clearly give them the right answer. You know, as you know, I wrote, as I said, I wrote only about the York, but also I have listed the University of Kent and the Kelly University as well. So yeah, I would like to just to be ready, you know, because I need to be
Okay.
more polite as well as you.
I'll give Kangwa to respond to that, but because he did, I think, exactly the same thing. But before that, the good thing is that you listed 3 universities. The presumption is at the point when you're listing the 3 universities, you considered applying to them. So in your response to that question, you first give the general overview of the 3 universities, why you chose them, why you listed them.
Exactly.
And then in your conclusion, you zero down on your preferred university, which is York. So I think for me, if I was in your situation, that's how I would approach that. Yes, whereas in the essay part, you elaborated more on York. The application is seen as a whole. They're not going to check out your essays without seeing the actual application form. So in your application form, you have York, you have Kent, and the third one. So they will look at, they will want to know why you chose the 3, because I'm sure there's a reason why you chose those 3. And then at the end, you conclude by saying, whereas you applied to 3, your preferred choice is York, and you give reasons why. Dr. Israel, you can,
Yes. Yeah. I just want to like also tell him this. I mean, of course, you didn't choose York alone, based on what you just said to us, because in your essay you just lay emphasis on York because it's your preferred university. So what I would advise, I remember one of my mentee, he applied LSHM, the three, what's it called, was his three choices, okay? It's, different courses in one particular school. Of course, Shevni will always advise you to apply for different universities. But of course, sometimes similar courses or the same courses. What I would suggest you do in your essay, your interview, you talk about your primary, your preferred university. And of course, what I always tell my mentees to also do, quickly write an email to one of your course director, okay? Tell him that you are coming. Even if he doesn't reply, you just tell them you have been in touch with Professor so and they are looking forward to my coming. You know, even when they didn't reply, but of course, oftentimes the course director, they will always respond to you. So lay emphasis on that course and why you prefer it above the others. You need to bring in points. Like, well, I remember Samuel saying that. My other colleague, I forgot his name now, talking about not mentioning a ranking. Sometimes it matters. Of course, all schools in UK are the same, but you know they are ranking. Even that's why they do the QS and ranking and so on and so forth. It matters. There's what they call the Russell group of universities, you know, and getting there, the school fees is also higher. You know, all those things matters in the UK, but you need to also talk about the fact that, of course, there's a way you make it general. You said UK school, University of York is one of the best in this field, okay? By saying that, everybody wants to, if you are going to an interview, I remember somebody told me, I was a panel member, you know, and he told me that he's interested in London School of IT. You need to see how happy I am because I'm alumnus. And I defended the guy in the interview, you know, just because the way he spoke about my school. Oh, he has checked the University in London School of Agriculture and Tropical Medicine is the number one in the UK, third in the world. I was happy to, like, you know, you don't know the kind of alumnus you might meet, so it might also help you. But however, lay emphasis on your course and the reason why you have chosen and mention at least 3 modules that are relevant to what you are currently doing or what you propose to do in the future. That would be my honest opinion. But the others, you can just mention them in passing, like Agatha said. So,
Okay, thank you, Dr. Israel. We also wanted to address. We have a few minutes left for this session, and so we want to cover as much as we can. So there was the issue of giving a preamble to your answers. I don't know in your country, but I think in my country, which is Uganda, the interviews are scheduled every 30 minutes. So there's not much time for you to give a preamble. You could be cut short during that preamble, and then you don't have the opportunity to actually answer the question. So yes, you want to give an introduction, but let it not be so lengthy that you forget to answer the actual question you've been asked. Because these people have already looked at your essays. They practically might know what you're going to say, but they're looking out for other skills, maybe your communication, your consistency with your essays, because you know there are situations where people get other people to write these essays for them, and so you're there to defend what you wrote. So go straight to to answer the question you've been asked, so that you do not spend so much time. And then, you know, some people on the panel will cut you short and ask you another question because they realize you're actually not answering the question you've been asked. So to avoid that, let us, we advise that you stick to the question asked. If you want to give an introduction, let it be so brief, but go straight to answering. The example is that question you asked at the end, why you chose your 3 universities and how they connect with your career goals. So go straight. Your choices are Kent, York, and the third one. And the reason you chose Kent is because of ABCD. And then you go to the next one. And then in conclusion, your preferred university is Kent because of, give the reasons, and then move on. like I think Kangwa said, the attention span is not so, human nature, people don't concentrate for so long. So if you take so long to make the point, you might end up missing to be shortlisted. And the truth is, many people are shortlisted and there are limited slots per country. I think there's a question sometimes they ask, why do you think you are the better candidate out of all the shortlisted ones? And so if you're the candidate who's taking long to answer the questions, there will be another candidate who will answer those questions spot on. And so whereas you might be a very good candidate, your tact during the interview could let you down because of how you're answering these questions. Kangwa, welcome back. Please address the question where you are a leading example of how you had one course. Please.
Yeah, it was an interesting situation, but I think like my colleagues have said, you have to be tactful how you present your case. So remember that you can have. I had one offer, and I also put other universities, even though I didn't. I knew I wasn't getting the offer because they offered the program I was doing on distance. So I knew that generally I only had one offer, one place to go to. So the aspect is, of course, in your writing. I think even in my writing, I did restrict myself mainly to just the university of interest I had. I didn't talk so much about the others because the program was more or less the same. So, but I did manage to put in a little bit there. So during the interviews, that necessarily didn't come up, and the way I explained it when it came, because there were three offers already. There were three choices, but of course I knew that there was only one thing. I think the only thing which came up was the course. I think because the course was the same throughout the three universities. I think they were asking why I think usually others have different courses, but physics is physics. You can't have different names all over, So you need it's but of course you can't tell people like that physics is physics. You have to find a more palatable way to explain to people, because people may genuinely not understand your situation. So you ease them easily into the situation, like, okay, this usually this program is offered in this way, and I think this is why you are seeing that it's appearing. It's usually there are no variations of like different other fields. Of course, within this program, there may be certain variations, but they are not really included in the naming of the program itself. So then for the PhD, for the university, I think I think they asked me at the end if I had any offers, and I told them, "Oh, I only have an offer for this place, and I think I'm not just sticking with this same one. I'm not pursuing the other places." Yeah. So it's just to find a way. You don't need. It's not that they know what you are thinking. They don't know what's happening on the ground. So you don't have to say everything. Just give people the information they are asking you. So as you go into the interview, remember that they don't know that that's the decision you've made unless you tell them. And if you tell them, then you open up another Pandora's box. Then it becomes now a very complex explanations after explanations. And I think the moment it starts becoming too many explanations, of course, people now start thinking there's something you're hiding and the like. So if don't give unsolicited for information. Yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah, thank you, Kangwa and Dr. Israel. And Samuel, thank you for offering yourself, for the mock interview. Our time is fast spent. And yes, we've seen your question, the question of why chevening. And we're going to give our parting shots. Our closing remarks, and we shall address the two questions, one raised by Samuel and the other one raised by Abdullahi about how the interview is graded. And I think Dr. Israel had earlier explained, as he's sat on several panels of interviews. Let's start with you, Dr. Israel. Please answer the question on how the interview is graded, and the question of why chevening, and please give us your parting shots.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let me be very fast because okay. For each questions, I'm talking about the essay proper, leadership and influence, networking, why studying in the UK, and your future career path is graded over 4. Okay. You have outstanding as 4, very good as 3, good as 2, I think satisfactory as 1, and we have one last one, which a minute please. Yes, we have good, satisfactory, and then unacceptable. Okay. For you, I always tell people, depending on the country, like my country is very competitive. I remember a year where 14 last year, if you score 14, you are not even getting it, because a lot of people got 15 and 16. We have the highest number of applicants in Nigeria. So depending on where you are, how competitive it is that year, and it might be difficult for you to, if you don't get, I always tell my candidates, look, strive for 15 so that you know that your mind is at rest. If you get 15, you know that one way or the other, very few will get 16. And so that's how it's being graded. The other thing about why why chevening is an opportunity for you to demonstrate the leadership capability. You need, for every scholarship, they have a reason why the scholarship is on. If I'm talking about Commonwealth, I'll talk about development. If I'm talking about chevening, leadership and influence primarily. If I talk about Irish 8, it's also development. So different scholarship have its own thematic focus. So you need to be mindful of that. And my final parting shot is this: you have gotten this far. You have all that it takes. Work hard, rehearse, network. See, this is the time I always tell people, my mentee, I always have mentee regularly. I always tell them, I say, who would want to give you £50,000 for free? If somebody offer to give you £50,000 for free, maybe you are in Uganda, you are in Kenya, wherever you are, how will you, if he asks you to roll from one end of the town to the other for the 50,000, I know you will do it with joy, So, however, the British government are not asking you to roll. They're asking you to come and confidently to come and defend yourself, to come and justify why they need to invest in you. And for me, as a chevening scholar, I'm amazed at how a lot of cheveners have turned out to be over the years. Majority ended up doing well. I remember my essay in 2014, and I realized that I've accomplished all I wrote. How did they know? How did they trust me that I'm going to do that? So they always have been working with. Be authentic, be genuine, and be focused. And above all, be prayerful. Because I'm a Christian, I believe, irrespective of how prepared you are, I've seen people that were very well prepared, but something happened that day, and they misfired. So, and there's nothing you can do, So all the very best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Israel. Let's give Kangwa. Please, Kangwa, you can weigh in on the questions and also give us your parting shots.
Yeah. So, what the first question is about why chevening? Is that that's the same one?
Yes.
See the other one. Is it the structure of the interviews?
No, the grading.
The grading. I think that one is more or less has been tackled by Doc very well. Maybe I can just add on the why chevening. It's I think it's a very it is a very prestigious scholarship. and it does raise one's self-esteem a lot when you get it. So I think one key thing I've seen, which is different compared about Chevening compared to other scholarships I've seen, I think it's the aspect of leadership aspect. And even when you are in the UK, there's a lot of events which are tailored towards that aspect. So there's a lot of networking events. There's a lot of, I think maybe over the years, these recent years, because of COVID, I think maybe those things have tapered down. I'm on Commonwealth now. I can say that I think with Commonwealth there isn't so many networking events. In my last 3 years, I've been on the scholarship. But on Chevening, I think the year was packed. We were climbing over each other. So I think Doc, you came a year before me. We used to climb over each other just to book for events around the UK. So there were events happening at least every month. There were more than 2-3 events happening, and there were in different things, different fields. So you get to meet other scholars very regularly. You have it's not just the classroom. There's another aspect of the UK which you see, the leadership aspect, the industry, the science industry, whichever field you are in, you are more or less catered for. And I think that was a very, very unique package under the Chevening scholarship, which is not there in most, if not all, the other scholarships I've heard of. And I think and the one other aspect I've seen that I think which also works out for a lot of friends of ours who are already past a certain age, there's no age limit, right? Yeah, there's no age limit. Wow, I think most scholarships have got that restriction on age. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Of course, I think we're quite young then. We didn't have any white hair. But the key aspect you need to really look out for, even when you when you get the scholarship, is the leadership events and other networking events which Chevening offers, which is not really offered in other scholarships. And that's what causes links you up with a lot of colleagues. And I think I got to know quite a number of people around the world from the events as well, Yeah. Otherwise, is that all, or there's another question?
I think our time is fast spent, so that's all for today's session. Thank you everyone for joining in. And yes, the speakers have really ably talked about why Chevening. I remember there's that, when you arrive, there's that networking session for all the Cheveners in London. I felt that was really nice. And then the university is when your program officer comes to the university, like to check on you guys. And there's all these trips around really UK, Scotland, and you have to sign up for them. And then the volunteering also. I think there was like an award for the person who's volunteered for more hours than the other. And so you find it's really engaging. It's looking at influencing the community, engaging in the cultural aspects of the UK. So really, like they have ably said, Chevening is like no other scholarship in terms of how you experience your time in the UK. There's all these football matches, there's the experiencing people, there's a time when people wear their culture wear. So really, anybody who's been shortlisted for the interview is honored and really has already gone a step ahead of the process. And we wish you the very best. We are available on social media. We are available to keep mentoring in case your interview is 3 weeks ahead. But also in your local country, please look out for fellow Cheveners, applicants. I'm sure there are those small WhatsApp groups where people are mentoring. Don't isolate yourself thinking that you are the greatest of all. The truth is you might be great, but there are people who are greater there. And you'll be shocked. Like the first time I was shocked. I thought I was shortlisted, and I thought, I'll just walk in. So please seek the mentorship that is required and go excel at that interview. Thank you. And like I said, please find out ahead of time the venue. Don't forget that there are people who get disorganized on the interview, and you're like, you had weeks to prepare. How don't you know the venue? So please do yourself a favor and prepare. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and YouTube. It's been a wonderful session. See you next week for more mentoring and preparation sessions. Thank you, our convener. Hand clap for you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Well done. Ejiro.
Matilda, great
Thank
job.
you, Agatha.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh,
Kangawa.
thank you very much. So
Are
thank
you from
you.
Uganda?
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your
Thank you.
for all your comments.
All right.
I'll try my best in order to improve.
All the best, Samuel.
The best.
Thank you. See you
All
guys.
right, we're going to end now. Bye.